let's compare these two big boys. We have here the new Pro lens from Viltrox, 56mm f1.2, an excellent lens for portraiture work, for wedding event photography, but also for fine art, street photography and street portraits and everyday outstanding portraiture. Also, we have here a pretty old lens, but a powerful, very good lens that it's delivering also outstanding image quality, a legend on its own, the Sigma 56mm f1.4. So I want to compare these two lenses and let's see which one is better, which one you should get, which one it is sharper, which one has better image quality and so on. So let's talk about this now. Hi there, Tudor Matescu here. So we have two lenses that for some people one lens can be an obvious choice, but I would say that the buying decision isn't as easy because also we have a third variant that I will address at the end of this video. That it may be a better lens than these two, it really depends on what you want. Let me address first the build quality. Both have some weather sealing and I guess that Viltrox it is better weather sealed from what Viltrox is saying. Sigma isn't stating that the lens it is fully weather sealed. It is weather sealed just at the mount. You have a rubber gasket, but the focus ring and other points where water can enter, I understand that they aren't fully weather sealed. So take it as you want, but Viltrox it's stating that this lens it is pretty weather resistant at raindrops and dust and so on. So better weather sealing here regarding build quality. Also in hand I would say that both are feeling very sturdy build. Also Sigma it is very well built. It has very nice materials to it and I have Sigma for over 2+ years or 3 years, something like this. And anyway the lens it is very well built from metal plus rubber and plastic, but also this Viltrox it's a chunky metal lens. So the build quality of this Viltrox, of course, it seems a little bit better, but for what it is, Sigma being so small and metal build, I would say that also it stays good at build quality. So I can call them equally good at build quality, having in mind that one lens it's a pro lens, bigger lens, and this is a smaller lens but can also be used in professional setups, so for professional photography where you are getting paid for your pictures. Now a big difference between these two lenses that could be a very important decision factor is that on Viltrox we have an aperture ring. Yes, we have an aperture ring. It's not an audible aperture ring, but it's a ring that has clicks, but you can't hear the clicks like on Fujifilm 27mm f2.8. Also you have an A mode and all it's working pretty well, and I would say that the Viltrox 56mm f1.2 aperture ring it is at the same level regarding build as my Fujifilm 18mm f1.4. So overall here you have an aperture ring and on Sigma you don't have an aperture ring. Another thing to address is that on Sigma you don't have an USB-C, so I guess you can update the firmware of the lens via the camera. It's not clear for me at this moment, but probably there is a way to update the Sigma. But I really like the fact that the Viltrox lens it's coming with an USB-C and you can update the firmware very fast and easy, So this is a big thing to have that USB-C on your lens for future firmware updates that especially on Fujifilm are very important. Now let me address the size and weight of these two lenses. Well, I think it's pretty obvious that one is bigger and heavier than the other. This is obvious, but what it isn't obvious online and when you are looking at videos and pictures is how these lenses are staying on the camera and how these lenses are feeling on the camera in real world use. Well, holding both of these two lenses in my hand now on two Fujifilm cameras, I don't feel a much difference regarding the Viltrox lens. Yes, it is bigger, but very easy for me to maneuver the lens. Very easy for me to maneuver this lens on my X-T50. And I've always said that, and I really have some experience now with the Viltrox. I've used it for street photography and it's my go-to lens when it comes to street photography now. Because even if the lens it is heavier, twice as heavy almost as the Sigma, and bigger, twice as big as the Sigma, I really love the image quality, I really love the fast AF, and I really love the results, and the weight and size, I don't feel that they are overkill when I'm comparing this to Sigma, because we will get to the image quality AF, but also portability. So yes, in theory, this is more portable, more easy to take, because it is half the weight, half the size, but it's not as light as the Viltrox 56mm f1.7 that we will talk a little bit later. So overall, size and weight, now having both of these two lenses in my hand, I don't feel that the size and weight of the Viltrox 56mm f1.2, it's a problem when I want to take this lens and pair it with another light lens. So this lens, it's working for a 2-lens setup, and my preferred street kit in general, it is made by 2-lens setup, especially on the Fujifilm cameras. So I really like when making street photography with Fujifilm to go with 2 lenses. Depending on what I want, I can choose a wider lens and or a longer lens, and Viltrox, it's entering in this equation. Very important. Viltrox 56mm f1.2, it's entering in this equation, and also Sigma, it's entering in this equation, but it's not making a big difference. So taking Sigma, let's say 56mm f1.2 plus Viltrox 25mm f1.7 or plus Fujifilm 18mm f2, I'm not feeling in my camera bag a big difference with X-T50 or other camera. So overall, yes, a little bit heavier my camera bag, but what I get here from my point of view, it is much better now in a way. Now let's talk about the AF. Well, I do feel that Sigma, it's a little bit slower than Viltrox 56mm f1.2. So I'm really liking how Sigma it's rendering, and I'm really liking the results. But when it comes to low light, this is where the Sigma 56mm f1.4 has a big problem regarding AF. It is slow, you can have missed shots, and so on. In good light, it's doing the job pretty well, but I would say from my experience that Viltrox 56mm f1.2 has better AF, also in good light and also in low light. It is much better. It's hard for me to say how much better it is. Hard to make a real judgment, but this I feel as a slow lens, and in general, this is why I avoided taking it, because I've said in low light it is slow, and also it has a weight to it in my camera bag. So to take Sigma with me, I really need a strong motivational factor. In general, I've used Sigma for my family photography, portraiture, and so on, where I want it to be light. But for my latest experience, also Viltrox delivered very well in my family photography. So again, regarding AF, I would give the win to Viltrox 56mm f1.2. Now let's talk about the image quality. Well, I've made some sharpness tests in studio, and the sharpness test in my studio showed what I felt. So let's look first at my test. So the first test, we have Viltrox 56mm f1.2 at f1.2 on the left, and also on the left we have still Viltrox at f1.4. So yes, it is pretty sharp. We are looking at JPEGs at f1.2. It is sharp, it's resolving details, but at f1.4 it is sharper in the JPEG. Let's look now at Viltrox at f1.4 on the left versus Sigma at f1.4 on the right. So Sigma at f1.4 on the right, it isn't as sharp as Viltrox at f1.4. It is very obvious in the JPEG that the Viltrox, it is more sharper at f1.4. Let me see if I can zoom at 200%, so it will be more clear on the YouTube. But yes, Sigma, it isn't as sharp as Viltrox, but on the other side, we are able to see that Viltrox at f1.4 has here a little purple fringing. Anyway, easily corrected. So let's look now at Viltrox versus Sigma at f1.2 versus at f1.4. So on the left, Viltrox at f1.2, and on the right, Sigma at f1.4. Zooming in at 200%, it seems that yes, Viltrox, it is sharper than Sigma at f1.4. I don't have here these good details that I have on the f1.2. Let me look at 100%, and yes, at 100%, they seem equally good, but Viltrox still has the advantage here, but on Sigma, we aren't able to see any purple fringing here. Let's look also in the raw files. In the raw files, we have Viltrox on the left at f1.2 and Sigma on the right at f1.4. And in the raw files, it is terrible for Sigma, I would say. It isn't at all sharp as Viltrox. Yes, it's not sharp at all in the raw file, I would say. And Viltrox at f1.2, it is staying very, very well. Also, we are able to see that Sigma has a special color, a special look, while Viltrox, it seems a little bit warmer. But overall, they have very different colors between them, and you are able to observe this also into the JPEG modes. Regarding the bokeh balls, yes, we are able to see that Sigma bokeh balls are a little bit rounder, and I will show you another test. Let's look also at Viltrox at f1.4 versus Sigma at f1.4. Let's look at sharpness on the eye. Viltrox, yes, it is much sharper at f1.4, and in this case I have here a little purple fringing. On Sigma I don't, but yes, definitely Viltrox, it is sharper, and when I'm looking at the bokeh at f1.2, it is more smooth on the Viltrox lens. Now let's look at my second test. We have here the raw files and also the JPEGs. Let's look directly into the raw files. On the left we have Viltrox and on the right we have Sigma. We are able to see that Viltrox has some cat eye shape bokeh visible, powerful visible in the corners, while Sigma has more rounded bokeh balls. So this could be a reason to choose Sigma, but otherwise, looking at minimum focus distance, we are able to see that Viltrox, it is very sharp at f1.2. It's resolving details at a macro level, while Sigma, let me look at Sigma, it isn't as sharp as Viltrox at f1.2. Let me put them side by side, and yes, we are able to really see that Viltrox, it is way sharper at minimum focus distance than Sigma, but on the other side, Sigma has more pleasant bokeh balls. But I would also add that with Sigma, you can get a little bit closer, like 1 centimeter closer or something like this. It isn't very clear to me how much closer, but looking at this test, also a very close-up test with Sigma, but looking at this test with Sigma, I also was able to get closer, and we are able to see also that Sigma has another signature color. Now let's look at the sharpness. We have Viltrox on the left at f1.2. We are able to see that Viltrox is resolving fine details, macro details, and texture, while Sigma, it isn't resolving as much details as Viltrox. We have here some details, it's not bad, but on the Viltrox at f1.2, the sharpness, it is more clear, the structure, the details are overall better and more pronounced than Sigma. But yes, you are able to see that I was able to get a little bit closer with Sigma, and I've tried multiple shots, and with Viltrox I wasn't able to get as close as I was able to get with Sigma. So this could be a point to choose Sigma. So you are able to see the test. From the moment when I picked my Viltrox 56mm f1.2, I felt very clear that it's a Sigma f1.4 killer regarding sharpness. I was able to see some reviewers that said that this lens isn't very sharp at f1.2, and this lens, it isn't sharper than Sigma at f1.4. It was very strange for me. This is why I've made my indoor test to see if this is the case, even if my eyes told me that no, Viltrox, it is much sharper and much better at f1.2 than Sigma. And from the test at close focus distance and so on, yes, you are able to see that Viltrox, it is much sharper, yes, much sharper than Sigma at f1.4. At f1.4, so at f1.2, it is much sharper than Sigma at f1.4. Big deal here, big deal here. And let's also address a little the minimum focus distance, because you are able to observe in my test that I was able to get closer with Sigma. Well, it seems that I wasn't able to get closer with Sigma, but looking at the specs, the Sigma angle of view, it's a little bit tighter. It is 28.5 5 degrees, while Viltrox 56mm f1.2 it's a little bit wider, it's just 28 degrees. Now let me address the price. So we have Sigma around $530 and Viltrox around $580. So $50 more. So just for 50 bucks, you'll receive a pro lens that it's at the level of the Fujifilm 56mm f1.2 lens that cost 3 times or 2 plus more than Viltrox. So this is a hard decision. So the only reason to get Sigma f1.4 from my point of view is that you want a small portable portraiture lens. So this could be the only reason to choose at this present time the Sigma lens. As a reason, I can't see why would you choose Sigma. On the other side, yes, I was able to see that Sigma is rendering their color signature, the more pastel look, the more rounded bokeh balls, and every image that this Sigma is rendering has their signature rendering, I'll say. And this is a nice rendering. I'm really liking how this Sigma is rendering, but also Viltrox has a very nice rendering too. So I can't say this is ultra special, so you must choose this, because also the problem is the AF. I would say get Sigma if the AF was better, or at least as Viltrox 56mm f1.2. But put the fact that you have equally prices, put the fact that this has slower AF, put the fact that this lens at f1.4, it isn't as sharp as Viltrox at f1.2, and where you'll get. Yes, I would buy Sigma if I can find it at half the price than Viltrox, and you've done a good job, you've got a good deal. But other than that, Viltrox, from my point of view, it's deserving the money. And again, Sigma, it's not a light lens, it's not a more portable lens than Viltrox in real world use. It's not, because it isn't as light as the next contender, Viltrox 56mm f1.7. So let's take Viltrox 56mm f1.7 into consideration now, because you should consider that lens, because that lens cost just $180. So under half of the Sigma lens and more cheaper than the Viltrox Pro lens. So Viltrox made here a very nice, smart marketing move, where they are offering us two lenses that have fast AF, that are very sharp, and one it's a little bit bigger, but it's a pro lens, very well built with outstanding pro image quality. And yes, the image quality, I can call it pro, I can call it outstanding, because it's outstanding. But next, if you want a lighter portable lens, why not get Viltrox 56mm f1.7? That from my point of view, it is at least as sharp or even sharper than Sigma, from what I am remembering, because also it is an f1.7, so the depth of field it's a little bit better. The lens it's ultra light. So if you want lightness, I would go to the Viltrox 56mm f1.7, because let's take a look here. So we have here Sigma at $529, Viltrox $580, and Viltrox 56mm f1.7 and $180, much lighter than Sigma, much lighter, similar or faster AF. It's not clear again for me, but the AF it's doing the job. Also, yes, in low light you have problems, especially on the Fujifilm system with any lens, I would say. But you get similar specs. Yes, you have a little tighter field of view, and this isn't a bad thing for an f1.7 lens. The field of view being tighter will offer you better background blur, better subject to background separation. So this is compensating, from my point of view, for the f1.4 aperture that it's on Sigma. Next, you have just a 55 centimeters minimum focus distance that isn't bad. And also what it's very important is that you really win at portability. You really win at portability because the lens is just 171 grams. So you really win at portability big time with Viltrox Air 56mm f1.7. Now, the only advantages that I feel Sigma still has are the rounded blades. Yes, you are able to see that the bokeh is a little bit rounder from there and there, but also you have some cat eye bokeh balls in the corners, where on Viltrox are more pronounced. But I don't feel this is a problem. The overall problem with Sigma that I have is the portability factor and the price. So from my point of view, if this Sigma it would cost just $300 or $250, it would still have sense. But now, because we have two Viltrox lenses, one dedicated for being ultralight and ultra portable, to have that short tele lens with you when you need it, and the other being dedicated to offer you great light gathering and ultra sharpness at f1.2, are you crazy? So from my point of view, if you are between Sigma and Viltrox and you are thinking that Viltrox it's a little bit too big to justify to be bought for your kit, I would say don't think like this, because Viltrox, yes, it's a little bit big, but this isn't a light lens. Being so small, it's feeling like a brick. And this was one of the reasons that I didn't shoot too much my Sigma lens. So I don't win on the portability side, I don't win on the AF side. This is another thing that was really bothering me, and especially in low light. So you buy a short tele lens at f1.4 to shoot it in low light for street photography, especially in the low light season, because again, in night street photography or in low light street photography, you want a longer lens and a bright lens. And yes, Sigma has this on paper, but in real world use, I didn't like it too much for this reason. So this is why Viltrox 56mm f1.2 it's winning for me when I want the latest and greatest image quality, and when I want the best portability, Viltrox 56mm f1.7 is the next obvious choice. So Viltrox 56mm f1.7 plus Viltrox 56mm f1.2 when you want the ultimate image quality. If you want the best portability, Viltrox 56mm f1.7. I would definitely get Viltrox 56mm f1.7. I can't justify Sigma at this present day at this price. I really can't justify. Till now, yes, we didn't have those options, but because now we have these options and because this has an aperture ring, definitely I'll choose Viltrox 56mm f1.2. And also, you can take Viltrox 25mm f1.7 as an everyday carry lens, a more wider field of view, and these lenses, small lenses in your camera bag, will be very portable and easy to take with you. I've recently shot this kit 25mm f1.7 plus Viltrox 56mm f1.2, and the camera bag was very okay. Again, yes, you have some weight differences, but they aren't big to justify not to take the lens. So this is why I like the Viltrox 56mm f1.2 lens. It's a lens that can be paired with another ultralight lens, being a Viltrox lens or another lens, and with X-T50 or X-T5 or other Fujifilm camera, you have a great street kit on you, very portable and very versatile. This means you can do all kinds of pictures with two lenses, one a short tele lens and one a wider lens for general purpose photography. So definitely Viltrox is winning in my books. Tell me your thoughts, leave me your comments, share my videos. Also please be sure to subscribe to my newsletter for more photography tips and tricks. And also please use my affiliate links if you want to buy something from the gear that I'm using. And what is free and is helping this channel to grow, it is to watch my next videos. Thank you and I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.